All right, my name is Alex, and I'll start off by saying, according to the Energy Information Association in 2008, the U.S. consumes over 19,000 barrels of oil per day, and over 12,000 of these barrels are imported from other countries. Now, we've all seen gas prices rise and fall over time, and there's always the warning of high rising gas prices. Although it's not a concrete number, the majority of oil experts believe that there's about 1.2 trillion barrels of oil left in the world. This is enough oil to last the world for about 40 years. However, most people do not realize that we have much less than 40 years' time to find another primary source of energy. It is for these reasons that I propose that ending our reliance on oil and changing to alternative and renewable energy will be a large factor in saving the U.S. economy in the future. I support this claim with the continued use of fossil fuels will contribute to global climate change, and it will demand more budget expenses trying to compensate for this. We will also have to keep constantly searching for new oil sources, and we cannot afford to be competing with the rest of the world for the remaining oil supply, especially with our current debt. I first claim the exploration for, refining, and burning processes all contribute to global climate change. Coal companies use a method called mountaintop blasting in order to find coal seams in the earth. The LA Times reports that a man in West Virginia won a battle against a coal company who blasted mountains illegally very near to homes. Oil refineries spew endless pounds of smog into the air, which eventually falls into the ground in our water. And of course, when we drive our cars, we emit carbon monoxide, which contributes to the greenhouse effect. So in order to try and adjust our consumption and emissions, we must spend more money on technology. So for instance, the car companies are trying to bring cars up to an average of 35 miles per gallon standard. LA Times reports that this will cost up to an estimated $7,000 extra in the price of cars. A study was conducted in the University of Oregon that found there will be profound effects in the state of Washington from global climate change. To summarize their findings, the state of Washington economy will be hit hard with many changes that occur within the next few decades in their environment. The U.S. will have to try and spend millions, even billions of dollars to remedy the damages done by global climate change. This money could easily be invested in alternative energy sources that will cause fewer problems in the environment. And in addition, these alternative sources are all renewable. Our next claim is that as long as we rely on oil as our primary energy source, we will always have to keep searching for more oil. This process costs us money. Data from BP informs that in 2001, it cost about $1.18 to discover each barrel of oil. And in 2009, it was reported that it cost a little more than $3, almost 3 times as much. And the costs are expected to keep increasing. Even after finding the oil, it costs money and further resources in order to harvest it. An offshore oil rig draws oil from almost 2 miles beneath the surface. So this requires some pretty advanced technology, and we have to pay for all the steel and that technology in order to do that. And as oil becomes hard to find, countries that are sitting on top of oil fields are going to charge a much higher price to sell the rights to that land for us. Alternative energies are renewable. We don't have to look for more sunlight. The sunlight's all around us, and it will not run out for thousands of years. The same goes for winds and water. It's all very accessible. It's a simple matter of just investing in the process before it's too late. The U.S. simply does not have the monetary abilities to spend excessive amounts of money on the dwindling oil supplies in the future. It's simple supply and demand. As the supply of oil runs low, the demand will rise, and countries that are the highest bidders will end up getting the oil. Although we have about 40 years of oil left, we will not use it all up that fast. The oil production works in a bell curve, so as we run out of oil, producers will hold on to those last amounts of oil and sell it for astronomical prices. And we all know that the U.S. is in $13 trillion in debt and counting, and we're going to be spending about $700 billion this year on importing oil, and it's projected to balloon up to about $10 trillion in about 10 years at the current rate. And this is way too much money to be spending on oil. It's money that we really can't spare at all. The best way to beat this crisis is to pursue another path for energy. It can give the U.S. an advantage over other powers in the world. If we can stay a step ahead, we will be better prepared. In terms of costs, investing in green technology will cost a lot now. However, it will pay itself off over time and then continue to save money as oil and other fossil fuels costs rise. And it really brings back the U.S. independence on energy. We have many options and lots of support in ending our dependence on oil. It's just a matter of getting people to take action. Crude oil damages our economy and our environment. It will be a continuous struggle to maintain our oil supply. The U.S. economy needs any edge it can get in finding a fix to the national debt problem. So after hearing these factors, I hope you will agree that ending our reliance on oil and changing to alternative and renewable energies will help save the U.S. economy. Thank you.
All right, you've got a proposition that you identify. It's a very broad statement, and I think that that's one of the problems because I'm not sure there's a lot of controversy that discovering oil is going to become more expensive or that resources are ultimately going to be limited. Where is the dispute on this? The dispute has to do more with the issue of our priorities currently and whether or not continuing to pursue those resources is a good economic investment as opposed to investing in alternatives. So you've got some good criticisms of investing in the current fossil fuel system. You mentioned the global warming costs, you mentioned the future rising costs, and I think you do an okay job showing that it's going to be a tough row to hoe. What we don't have any data on is the alternative. So if you slap down all fossil fuel energy as a future source of energy, at least in the long run, where's the demonstration that any alternative is going to be effective? In fact, the movement to trying to extend the fossil fuel energy resources, like for instance with hybrid cars or highly more efficient cars that use the fuel more efficiently, you kind of dismiss those things and suggest that that's going to be expensive too. So where's the stuff that says that the alternative energies are going to be cheaper, that developing them is going to be saving us money in comparison? I'm not getting the other part of the argument. I'm getting slammed on the one set without the alternative on the other, and I think that that's the biggest problem in the argument. You've got some good statistical information, but it does seem like some issues are included just as a general background information, like on the U.S. national debt and what our costs are going to be. What percentage of our current debt and resources is devoted to energy resources and importing them? That's the number that we need to have. And how much higher is it going to be in the future? That's what we need to have. You've got the one estimate about it being trillions, but it's a proportion of what we currently spend or what we're going to be spending in the future. Since apparently we love spending trillions of dollars, then perhaps it's only going to represent an equal amount. You need to show how it's growing proportionally. I thought that it was fairly smooth in the presentation. Your eye contact could be a little bit better. Like I said, what's missing is the second half of the argument. All right.